Alrighty, so I went through some debugging processes and I just wanted to run through the examples of what I found while I did this. First of all, when I signed up, I found that I wasn't creating all of the default settings and default categories for the account. And when I did some homework, what I realized is I simply had errors in this JSON text. Another good reason to maybe write this with a tool as opposed to just freehanding it. But it was like a colon or a comma being used in the wrong spot. So there were a few errors in there. But once we fix that and we go through the signup flow, we automatically create the correct default categories that we want in this list here. So that all works correctly. Now, as I went through the process, I went ahead and actually removed to-dos from this. So it is only going to be the boards that are going to pop up once you're logged in. And before I publish this, I'm going to go ahead and do a simple rebranding and give it a new label and just some new stuff throughout. So it looks like this app in particular. Now, when I went through the app, there were a couple little things that I had to fix. Like sometimes these X's, I had removed this X to close function. So that was erroring. On our drag and drop category reordering, there were a couple more tangible changes. One, I had incorrectly put the drop function on this div, which was the div for the whole row that was being dragged. Instead, I put the drop to update the ordering on the actual target zone. That's where you want the actual drop event to trigger. And so it takes the drop zone that's being dropped into, then runs the flow to remove all the styling, and it does the move position. And it does use the array index of the initial row that's dragging. So that's when we start the drag, we started that variable. And then we use the current page array index, which is the variable that exists on every page, to reposition it. That then also is going to trigger a change event on our repeating list element. So this says reorder it. And then to trigger something to happen, we trigger the change event here. And the change event is simply an autosave. And the good part about an autosave here is that it goes ahead and updates the ordering for us. And it does the updating of the ordering for us because when I go to properties, I've chosen a specific value from the data collection I set into the collection. And so when I reorder it, it sets to autosave. So it recognizes that this has been updated and it updates that data record on each of the categories with its new spot in the order. And so that's a really good thing for just making it easier to not have to create any update or save flows. It just does it for us. Now, in my autosave, I also ended up adding a function to run page binding on our app page row. And this was because I actually went through a process where what was happening is because I had a data listener set up for categories and the scoring of the categories. And I end up getting to the point where with a bunch of ideas and a bunch of categories, there's like hundreds of data updates that happen. And you could see, if you looked at the network, you could see literally hundreds of things happening because as the data gets all updated, which was a consequence of what we were doing because we were updating the order on the, what we were doing is on the idea score relationship, we were manually updating this order from the updated list. And so we were just changing each category once. So that's like 5, 6, 7, 10 categories tops, probably usually 3 or 4. But every single then category was being updated, was updating its related category relationships. And so that was resulting in a significant amount of data needing to be updated, hundreds of things, which resulted in what felt like some delay of updates of the reordering on the grid on this each idea row. So these didn't get reordered properly. And so what I did instead, I changed that where and this is a much better way to maintain the data too, because I never have to worry about updating the ordering. Instead, what we're going to do on this page in our page binding, we do a series of set variables and data manipulation to eventually merge the correlated category to the category score relationship to merge that category ordering into the same JSON structure into one variable, and then setting the value of the repeating list from the data that we manipulated. So this is still coming from our data collection, very similar to the process of data binding. However, by setting this variable to get the right information that we want, manipulating some of the names of the data. So I changed the field that we're going to merge them on. So from the ID of the categories to the field name of the relationship for the category on the score collection. That's probably confusing. There's a lot of categories going on there, but ultimately know that this series of actions goes through a process of data manipulation so that I can then, when I set the data in, it will retain the order from the values from the categories collection. And I don't have to maintain those records separately. And that also then means I don't have to worry about updating it anytime, which is awesome because, again, we're talking about hundreds of data updates. Every time I change the order of one category, it updated hundreds of data records. And so that's a big thing for us to not have to worry about doing that. There were a couple other small changes just design-wise that I made to give some objects more spacing, some transparent backgrounds here so that this looked better on the app page. But ultimately, those were the main changes that I had to make the app good to go. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'll start over and do a brand new test. All right, so let's go ahead and demo this. So I'm going to do Josh plus builder.com test. Hit sign up. Now it's going to be a brand new account. And let's create a new board. So I got a new board. Done. Add an idea. See the ideas. Let's add another idea. Oh, so on a new account, it looks like we're not getting the order correct. That tells me I may have an issue also in the JSON then where I'm not giving it a new order correctly. It's my only guess because everything else works. So let's go to my default settings. Let's double check this value. And so I should see different orders. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that's the problem. I need to give this a 4. And so I need to update that data record with it. And so the issue was these have the same order. So it was almost random, I think, how it was giving it. So I didn't edit it on that user though. So let's go to that user's categories. So this should be, these are my brand new users right here. And I can see 2 1s. So let's just update one of these to a 4. And now if we were to refresh this page, we'll see the same ordering here. And we see the same ordering now. So that's good. And so that was one of the problems that I had before, and that was resulting from a lot of change to no longer have ordering on this record collection, but instead just the other. And so that's a good example of if you ever need to optimize speed API calls. I literally am doing hundreds of less calls in a second, and it's just one call instead. And so it makes a really, really big difference in the result. So if I hit edit categories now, I throw customer impact on top. I see that reordering happen instantaneously. Let's say I wanted to rename, actually, let's just do it. Add a new category. New category, automatically add it. If I go to edit categories, it's right here at the bottom. I can edit it, rename. Automatically gets renamed and reset. If I start putting values in these boxes, that's all working. It resorts automatically as soon as it should be idea higher on the queue. description. That saves automatically, so I can see it right there. If I remove a category, so it removes that record from this as well. So I think we have everything working as expected here. We can add ideas, we can add categories, and we can add boards. So I hope this was helpful. I'm just going to chop up this mini series into probably 3 or 4 videos. I wanted to just walk through my process of creating this. And you could see some processes of creating an app from the ground up with one of our templates, but also just really from scratch and say, how do I think about data collections? How do I think about everything that I need to make this happen?